We had a full 20-minute hands-on demo with Metro Exodus last weekend at EGX 2018 over in Birmingham here in the UK. After a short tutorial video explaining the myriad of game mechanics, we were able to finally fully explore the snippet of game world on offer. Exodus is a much more open affair than previous Metro games. Although not fully open world, the game retains its linear heritage whilst adding in a drop of freedom for the player. This is an evidently much more ambitious project, an overall polished attempt at realising the Metro universe for 4A games. The result is a fairly different game than what some fans may have come to know and love. Less claustrophobic tunnels, although I was assured that they are absolutely still there, and a little more stalker. Exodus clearly retains that infamous Metro DNA however, so fans shouldn't be too worried. After gaining control of Artyom, it was instantly apparent that this is a dark world, with plenty of world building throughout the environment. From what I've seen, 4A have done a fantastic job of ensuring that environmental attention to detail hasn't been lost in the transition to the game's larger scale. I entered a small shack in the hunt for loot, only to discover a bleak scene of folks strung up on the walls with signs attached to them dictating their crimes. Further down the path, there was a character tied up to a post being attacked by a wolf. The game never explicitly told me to go down that path, or to make a decision about what was about to happen next. After answering his pleas to resolve the situation and help untie him, the guy told me he wouldn't forget what I'd done. Metro Exodus will apparently track your moral decisions, suggesting that the impacts of these might be felt later throughout the game. Although previous Metro titles have touched on the idea of a moral system, these only really affected the ending of the games. Instead, Exodus appears to be making this mechanic much more direct, which is a welcome change for sure. After attempting to cross a bridge, a member of the Children of the Forest jumped down in front of me, stating not to go any further. Instinctively, I just shot the guy blank in the face before he could even finish his request. Oops. Exodus provides a much more open-ended aspect to the combat, allowing you to approach combat scenarios in a somewhat Far Cry style fashion, from stealth to all-out action, and even avoiding combat in some scenarios apparently. Unfortunately, the AI, or potentially the demo's difficulty setup, didn't put up much of a challenge for me. Ammo is evidently scarce in Exodus, forcing you to scavenge and loot for any scraps you can possibly find. Whilst I ran out of ammo for the SMG within all of a few seconds, my trusty shotgun had no issues dispatching enemies. I was able to close the distance and shut down most foes without any trouble whatsoever really. For those which fancy taking things a little bit stealthier, you'll have a crossbow at your disposal for a more silent approach. It's pretty satisfying. Bolts can be collected from dead enemies too, which is a nice touch. It's also worth pointing out that we got a peek at the game's weapon upgrade system, allowing you to modify almost all of your guns on the fly. Whilst we didn't get substantial time with this element of the game, it was present in the build for us to take a look at. It was similar to games such as Crisis, where you can swap out attachments and elements to your weapon in a fairly intuitive fashion on the fly. Grime even begins to accumulate on your weapons, something which I never encountered during my time on the demo, forcing you to visit a workbench to clean them up. If weapons aren't maintained, they'll jam up, for example. Hopefully 4A games can strike the balance here of making this mechanic more interesting and less of a pain in the backside as seen in some other games. The demo ended with an atmospheric venture through a dark forest full of highly aggressive wolves. Of course, the wolves were the least of Artyom's worries though, as the demo comes to a close with a huge mutated bear rearing its lovely face. No doubt this will end up being some form of boss battle. My time with Exodus was spent playing the game on an Xbox One X dev kit. I didn't notice any issues whatsoever from a technical perspective, with no noticeable performance problems, and the game's visuals looked fantastic throughout. Whilst another member of our team did hit a crash with only 2 minutes to go on the demo, the folks at Deep Silver offered him another full 20 minutes with the game the following day, which is a nice welcome gesture. At this stage in development, the odd crash here or there isn't something to be concerned about whatsoever. In fact, I was surprised at just how well the game seemed to play at this point. Metro Exodus is extremely promising. The gunplay felt weighty and satisfying to use, and the game's more open-ended nature left for some interesting questions. It's clear that this is developer 4A Games' most ambitious project yet. The Metro series has always remained relatively niche, however Exodus looks like it might just buck that trend. After my short hands-on with the game, I'm certainly looking forward to exploring more of the wastelands when Metro Exodus launches on February the 22nd, 2019 on PS4, Xbox One and PC. Be sure to like, share and subscribe for more content like this.